Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Janelle Harvey, and I am the founder of the Nonprofit Consulting Academy. For the next couple of months, I'm going to be teaming with professionals from across the country for them to share their expertise with you. And today we are beyond thrilled to have Evangelist Koiya Thomas. So, a little bit about her. For over 17 years, Evangelist Koiya Thomas has been a dedicated educator and faith leader with a deep seated passion for helping others. She is currently pursuing her degree in biblical studies through Midwest Bible College. Through the help of Ball State University, Koya learned about how to write grants and logic models as well as diagrams. Her desire is to build strong communities and strategies to help those in need. Holding a bachelor's degree in early childhood education with a minor in family studies from Ball State University, she has spent her career guiding and supporting children and their families in Northwest Indiana schools. As an evangelist and intercessor at Unity Outreach Ministries, her faith and professional life are united by a common mission to guide people toward freedom and healing. With the help of Jesus Christ, having overcome her own personal struggles, Koya is especially passionate about helping individuals navigate health challenges and build a strong foundation for a renewed journey in life. Without further ado, you are in the hands of Koya Thomas.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Janelle Harvey, for giving me this opportunity to join today. I'm very grateful for this chance to share with everybody about logic models. Some have called it logic models, which I've known, as well as logic diagrams. They pretty much are the same thing. All right. So we're going to get right into our slides here. All right, so first question is, what is a logic model? A logic model is a tool that can capture the big picture concept in a simple and or complex but visually helpful format. It can be this can be done multi-year planning. It's very strategic on how you do this. The logic diagrams are an approach to program planning and thinking about what should be evaluated. Logic diagrams is a planning tool that draws out how project goals should be achieved. So this is our marking point in going into logic models. Okay, so the benefits of logic models. So the program, the planning, you want to think about your resources, your activities, and intended results. So you want to make sure that your results are realistic, that you can be able to pursue that result out in your planning. Also, the implementation, execution, how are you going to execute it? How are you going to perform it? How are you going to carry out that mission? Next step is management. So these are just the benefits you all of logic diagrams. So management is, how are you controlling the company's resources? How are you budgeting? How are you managing? The program or whatever that you decide to do. How are you managing that? So you want to always keep a watch on these. Are very detailed. The next step is evaluation. How's your decision making on your inputs and outputs and income outcomes, excuse me. So you want to be very trying to evaluate your decision making on every strategy is a key part in creating a logic model. Last thing is reporting. How you tracking the progress of your goals. Are you being very detailed and thorough? It's learning to determine the bumps in the roadmap. How can we make it more better? How can you make it more effective logic model? So these are some of the things to think about when you are creating your logic model. All right. So here is my definition, you all. My definition of the brain operational system of logic model is that's what I call it. The brain operational system of a program on paper. So it's like a graphing illustration is what I would call it. So those that would take view in that, these are some of the questions to keep in mind when creating your logic model. So what will the grant reviewer see in the drawing format? What will they see in that drawing illustration? How can he or she visualize this plan or strategy coming to light? So there I have a picture here of a brain, a person's brain, and how is that logic model coming to light? How can they visualize that, or even just see that in their mind of how this strategy can begin to play out. And so we'll show you later down in the slides about how to go about creating a logic model on paper. Our next step. So here's something that I learned about um, through learning about logic diagrams is that there are two types of logic models. One being theory of change model. Also, the next one is a program logic model. So these are the two that I found out that was very interesting, and I'll show you all on the next slides how they are similar and how they are different. So, theory of change model, which is TOC. Okay, so the theory change model is a general representation of how you believe change will occur. Oftentimes, programs will set long term goals. So, sometimes when you think about in the grant writing process of doing the logic model, you want to have a set goal, a long term goal. That could be, I've seen some working with Head Start was one of the places I work with for government funded programs. And they have long term goals, which is like a 5 year goal. Some will have a 10-year goal. What do you see yourself in those goals? Do you see that plan or that mission being carried out? Also, the theory of change is the maps, the causal pathways, and the big pictures I stated earlier of how and why change is expected to occur, often highlighting assumptions and context. So this is like your roadmap to the change. This is our drawing illustration roadmap to the change. So some of the questions to think about, you look at the slide here, there's some people here talking. They're thinking about, you want to think about, does it make sense? What is the long term goal, ultimate impact you want to achieve? What is the specific problem or root cause you want to address? So that's one of the key points. You want to be specific in creating your logic model. You want to be very specific and detailed, getting to the root of the matter of the cause that you want to address and be able to carry out. Also, something that was very interesting to me is what is your target population or group that you want to benefit from? I've noticed in some logic models, they mission statement, maybe they want to focus in on minorities, or some may want to focus in on low income poverty. Maybe children low in reading, different this. What is your target? Some could be an age bracket. Maybe you want to do like single moms, ranging from the age of maybe teenage moms, ranging from the ages of like 15 to 17 years old. So back to again, you want to be very specific in your problem and what you want to carry out. All right. So that is the theory of change model. Now, here is the program logic model. So, this one details resources, plan activities using inputs and outcomes over a course of time that will reflect the intended results. So, on the picture on my left, is a picture of a young lady, looks like a teacher with a young boy who I believe that's learning how to read with the braille reading writing, if I can call it that. So that is the target for your logic model. But then the results, those intended results, as you see on the next picture, right there's a young boy is reading by himself. So when you create a logic model, you want to have it to be realistic. Some of the things that some of you guys may have heard of the SMART goals. So the SMART goals is just being specific, and as I stated before, something that is measurable, how much change is expected, and how the change can be measured. So that's something to think about. A is for achievable, being realistic, completed by giving current resources. Um, Also, arm for realistic, addressing the scope and program steps toward your goals. And lastly, the timeline, meeting objectives. So you just want to make sure that you're staying on point with your logic model. Again, I call it the brain operational system on paper. So you want to carry that mission out step by step. As we'll go on the slide, you'll see. All right. So, what does the theory of change and program logic model have in common? So, in my earlier slides, I showed you all how they were different, but there's a heart there because I want to share with you all that the theory of change model, as well as the program logic model, and how they are in common. So, both are used to plan, implement, and evaluate initiatives, ensuring activities align with desired long term outcomes, often including inputs, activities, outputs, and outcomes. So they both tie in the two. And then you can some people I know most have did like the theory of change, some have done the program logic model, so it just depends on what program are you willing to seek out. I know it's strong that I really did on the teams and needs. So in creating a needs a strong team in creating this. So you need people that government funded programs, so maybe they have maybe they went to school for a class or took up a degree in grant writing. So all of these are important. It's important to have a team. It's logical where everyone on team, this manager of our team there and look it's standing up, everybody is on point, everybody is holding up that word. Whatever program that you desire to have for your mission, you want to make sure that you have strong people that have knowledge, that have wisdom, their expertise, and able to solve complex problems. How can we better our community? How can we strengthen single mothers? How can we bring about change to maybe low test scores? So you want to have people that's had their expertise, their experience, their knowledge, because that plays a great part. And also finding out what your community may need. So, in logic modeling, logic diagrams, it's important to have deep brainstorming. You all, this takes hours, sometimes days or weeks to do because you want the grant viewer, whoever's looking at your application, you want things to be in thorough and detail. Bringing awareness to whatever your community may need, something different, something that may somebody's never done before. So you just want to think about, what does my community need? What does my community need help with? What are the statistics? What are the struggles? What are areas of need that our community may face? So these are some of the deep brainstorming, and that's why it's important to have a strong team. That way, you all can tackle it, take notes, think about it, strategies, put on the drawing board. How can we better support our community? So your strength, your team is so important for the needs of your community. So, example of needs, as I've stated before, I've shared some before, but here are some more in detail. So, example of community needs may be low income families that have limited access to healthy food. So, that is a need. Another one is tutoring services are unavailable to poverty school age children. Oh, these are some of the needs that we may see in our community or in other communities. Another one is only 25% of fifth graders are reading at their grade level. So that is an area of need. and I have the percentage there. When you're doing logic models, it's not something that's made up off the top of your head. You have to have the research behind it. You have to have a standing point as to why, and those numbers mean something. Numbers matter when you are doing your logic model diagrams, when you're setting everything up. You have to show those percentages and data in order to carry out. Those numbers matter. So if something is low or something is an area of red, that is a sign of need. So numbers matter. Also, high school dropout rates have been ahead increasing. Yeah. So you know, sometimes when you look at high school dropout rates, unfortunately, it has been increasing. So that could be an area of need as well. Again, it's all about what is in the need of your community. As I've stated, all are highlighted a need for an intervention. So now we are on our way. We're showing the needs. The first step is showing those needs for your logic model. All right, so number two, what are inputs? So we have our inputs here. Okay, inputs are identifying all resources, investments, and constraints required to run your program. So, such as funding. What funding do you have? What sponsors do you have to support your program? As far as the staff, you got to look at that. You got to, when you're doing a logic model, you have to be very, very, very detailed in the whole matter because, again, you're putting that your graphing illustration on paper, so everything needs to be in detail. Who is your staff? Who's working? Who's a part of this program? Who are the volunteers? Who is willing to volunteer their time? What materials are you using? I even have in my notes here, you some materials maybe, if you're having a tutor program, we need everything. We need desks, we need chairs, we need utensils for the children. So what all materials do you need? And as well as the technology, what are you using? And the partnerships, who are you partnering with for this logic model to carry out? Gather these by brainstorming with stakeholders, reviewing existing budgets. So, what is your budget? What is your area of finances that you have for your program? So, you will need some type of data, as I stated before, for your inputs, such as students' diagnostic dates. So you want to know the rate, like as far as IEPs or I-STEP scores, again, those percentages of high school dropout rates, again, those numbers matter when you are doing your input part for your logic diagram. Also, finding solid staff members, asking for volunteers. Again, materials such as computers, desks, chairs. So you want to make sure everything is set in place, everything is solid on your completing your logic model. Because again, you're going to have to do this on paper. All right, we are close. We're getting so close. Let me see here. Okay, let me go here. My notes. Um, so when you're thinking about logic model, okay, although the logic model is not a work plan, it can display, okay, the connections between inputs or resources, activities, and outcomes. So when you are doing your logic diagram, you want to make sure that you have that connection. How is the input connecting to the output? How is the output connecting to the outcomes? So you want to make sure that everything is lining up to your mission. So when creating the logic model, I've used colors and symbols for my input. So just the whole thing overall. So you can use I have here in my notes, you can use colored arrows, ovals, circles, squares, just different things on each row to create that system. So creating your logic model, you can use colors, or symbols to create a clear role for any viewer to see. So, meaning if anybody looks at that outside of a viewer, they will know what you are trying to do. So, this will show your connection. And again, I have here at the bottom the community volunteers. Who all is volunteering when you're thinking about a tutoring program? Who's all volunteering? Is the school district staff on board? Do you have trained tutors that are in place? Some schools require, when you're doing a tutoring program, to make sure that the teachers are licensed, making sure that the teacher have passed their tests, that they are well qualified to pour into those children, and they want to see that. So again, the teachers support as well. So again, everybody has that connection in creating your logic model. So everybody has to be on board. This is for the inputs. Okay. All right. Next, we are going to our activities. So, how's your program implemented the activities? What does the program do with your inputs? Okay. So, I've had people tell me just to make sure that whatever if you're doing something on a Friday at from 3 to 5 p.m., you need to make sure that you are implementing that activity on that day and time. Because guess what? If someone comes by, if a viewer comes by just to watch and observe, you need to make sure that you are doing that day and time. So, do you have a curriculum? Do you have a guide? I know even for the tutor programs, they have different curriculums that they go by to make sure that you are carrying out that mission, whether it's helping children with their math, helping children with their reading, whatever it is. Do you have a guide? So again, the examples can be you're doing something three times per week, such as Monday through Wednesday. Again, remember, whatever you set in place, it must be done at that day and time of service. So if someone comes by, as I stated, you need to make sure that your program is implementing those activities, all about from the inputs. Okay. So I have my examples here. You see that they are in color blue as the others that I had on the previous page. So, math tutor group workshops, okay, delivering one-on-one tutoring groups, or evaluating a child's progress. So these are just some of the programs that you can have, workshops, training, support groups, or educational services. Even if someone was, wanted to have a program for mental health, you need to make sure that you're having those trainings, those support groups, those workshops to carry out that logic model mission. So yeah, so you got to make sure that you're in detailed strategy day by day, whatever day and time of service it is, to make sure that everything is being delivered properly. Okay, so those are the activities. You have to make sure that they are implemented. Make sure your curriculum is on point. You can even get expertise from other teachers or your other staff to kind of build up off of each other. But just make sure that you have a curriculum or a guide in place, whatever that is. Again, as I stated, just make sure that you carry out that mission, the support groups, because you want to make sure that your outcome is successful. All right. All right, so the outputs. Okay, so outputs are the direct, tangible, and measurable products, services, or events resulting from program activity. So we talked about the inputs, so now we're talking about the outputs. Okay, so it's measurable products, services, or events resulting from program activities. The outputs, they represent the volume of work accomplished, how much slash many, and who has reached participation. Outputs are distinct from outcomes changes and typically include metrics such as numbers of workshops, clients served, products created. So outputs are showing how many workshops you've done, how many clients have you served, you know. As I have my bulletin here, the number of tutors recruited, trained. Again, they got to be certified. Number of tutor training sessions completed. You want to keep those numbers. Those numbers matter as you are doing completing your mission. You want to make sure you're keeping those numbers. Remember, I said numbers matter. So you want to be in details. That's stated in the beginning. Some people do their grants like grant writing so many times a year. Maybe it's like certain months like September through November, or November through the spring, you know, that is open. So you want to make sure that you're showing um, data, you know, keeping up with everything. Number of tutor training sessions completed, number of tutors recruited, trained, certified. So keeping those numbers, frequency of interactions between tutor managers and tutors. Okay, those numbers matter. How often are we meeting up? Is there a change that's being taken place? How well is the outputs taking place in your program? Tutor satisfaction rates. So you want to make sure your everybody is meeting the criteria. Everybody is on rate and on schedule. Because again, you want those results from the program to be successful. All right, so here are outcomes. All right, so the outcomes is the specific measurable changes in participants' knowledge, attitudes, behavior, skills, and or condition resulting from program activities. Outcomes represent the intended beliefs or so what impact of the program, rather than just the services provided. They are usually categorized by time/depth. Some have short term, some have immediate, intermediate, and then some have long term. So sometimes in a logic model, you have your different terms. You have the short term, you have the intermediate, and then you have the long term. Again, going back to those time frames that you want to have. What type of goal are you looking for? Is it just a 2 year goal? Is it a 5 year goal? Is it a 10 year goal? By this date, I want to see the outcomes of uh, children getting higher rates in their test scores. Here I have decreased rate in test scores, higher percentage in class grades. So those are some of the things you want to look at in your outcome. You want to make sure that the numbers are reaching where they are supposed to be. All right. So I think I'm getting close to the end here. One of the things I do remember with doing the logic model is at the end talking about surveys. Some of you all may have witnessed, maybe you went to the doctor, or um, something you did, and they asked for a survey. But I've learned is the reason why they do a survey is to find out what flaws they may have. What, how can we do better? How can we make sure that we can do better next time? How can we improve our program? So these are some of the things that they evaluate in surveys. So surveys measure whether short, medium, and long term outcomes were actually met, validating the theory of change. So some of the things you want to look at, identifying the gaps and adjustments, how can we be better? How can we reach, maybe you want to reach more people next time. So just recognizing the flaws and how can you do better for your program. And again, this is making more room for growth, even in strategic ways of going back to that drawing board, going back to the drawing board with your strong team, with the areas of need for that community, and making room for growth. How can we expand? How can we make our logic model maybe might want to focus in more in detail on something else, so just going back to that drawing board, making room for growth. How can we do better on next time? How can we better service our parents, our students, our single mothers, the community? How can we move to the next step? So these are just surveys that you all may have took it and not realize why you were doing the survey. But this is why, one of the reasons I found out is that it's to better that program. How can they go for higher? What can they do to assist everybody to make sure everyone is on one accord? All right. All right. So I believe this is our last slide here. So again, I shared about how logic model to in my search research of it is the expertise is that brain operational system is what I call it. So again, as I shared with you all earlier, is the graphic illustration. So now here it is on paper, and I got this from my book through Ball State. The book is Effective Grant Writing and Program Evaluation. So this is like that step by step strategy, and the community needs, as I stated earlier. This is an example here. So high school dropout rate has been increasing. So there is the need. Okay, there is the need. As you see, there's the colors there. As I stated earlier, you have your symbols. They are using the wider arrows as well as the shorter arrows and kind of longer there. If you look in the middle part, again, it's how can they all come together in connection? So the need is high school dropout rate has been increasing. That's your need. Okay, the inputs. Okay, if you look right up under that, that is for inputs, community needs. Okay, all right. I mean, community volunteers. I'm sorry. Okay. So those are your inputs. Also, school district staff and teacher support. Okay. Parenting skills, curriculum. So these are all of your inputs. Now, as you see, you got the arrows, those small ones there. I don't know if you all can see my arrow here, but these are the small arrows. Okay, again, we're going back to that brain operational system of the logic model. Okay, next we have the activity. Okay, so the activity for this program is supporting a group for parenting. Okay, also they have the dropout prevention program. Okay, they may have parenting classes. Okay, so these are the activities. Again, I stated if someone comes in, a viewer comes in, they want to see these activities being planned out. So if you have it Monday through Friday, if you have it Wednesday through Friday, maybe it's from 2 to 5 p.m., whatever that time is, make sure that you are carrying out that activity. Outputs, okay? Parents attend support groups once a week, okay? So again, that's being back to detail once a week. The parents are attending support groups once a week, and also parents attending class. Okay, and then as I stated earlier, sometimes you have some go right into outcomes of our scene, and then some do have intermediate outcomes. Okay, again, those are the arrows there. Parents feel more confident to confront child misbehavior. Okay, so maybe it's the high school dropout rate is increasing because of child's behavior. Again, those are the arrows. You're following those arrows there. Also, it has parents have a group of familiar parents to lean on for support. You definitely got to have that. Okay, you want to carry out. You just want to make sure that you have whatever it is, students, parents, whatever from the community. That way they can kind of grow off each other, leaning in for support. Also, decreasing student behavior problems. So that's another outcome, intermediate outcome. Okay, so we want decreasing student behavior problems to decrease. Okay, and again, these are the arrows here. All right. So it's always something in connection with the other. Lastly, the end outcomes decrease school dropout rate for children whose parents participated in the program. So, whatever program that your logic model, whatever it is, whatever that end outcome is, that is the success that you want to have. You want to make sure that everyone, as I stated, everyone has met their goal. They have met their target. They have met their outcome. And again, this one states that decrease school dropout rate for children whose parents participated. So, from participating in this program, okay, high school dropout rate, okay, has decreased. So that is a plus. Again, you want to make sure that your numbers show, where's the data, where are your statistics, where are the numbers, you want to have your numbers from the start to the end, so that way you can know, did were you able to meet that goal, were you able to meet that goal for that program. So again, going back to about logic model, you want to make sure that you're being specific. Whatever the community need is, you don't want to have something that's like broad range. You want to make sure that you have something that's very specific, measurable. Again, as I've stated, how can it bring about change? Can we achieve this goal? So again, going back to your team, making sure that you have that strong team, to make sure, hey, can this be realistic? Are we able to carry out this mission? Okay. And then also the time, timeline, making sure that you are meeting all your objectives and goals. Okay. Some of the questions you might want to think about, will it work? Is this able to work for us? Are we able to carry out this mission? Again, stating, finding out, what is your community needs? What are the needs of your community? And you want to make sure that you have those numbers. All right. Okay. I believe that is it. So I'm going to stop the share here. Okay. Um,
Thank you so much for sharing your gems and your jewels with us. We will be posting this information on our sites and on our social media platforms. If you would like to attend a future masterclass with us, please follow Nonprofit Consulting Academy TM, TM for Trademark on Facebook. Thank you.